tell me if this is something that has happened to you. You're recording your voice, you've got great equipment, you've got your microphone ready, you're excited to create some content, whether it's for a YouTube video or you're doing some type of marketing online for social media, whatever it is. And you're recording your voice, it sounds good, but it's just not up to par. It doesn't sound like everybody else. It's clear, but it's not present. I've heard it described as this many times. I record my voice and it sounds close, but it sounds far away at the same time. What is it? It could be very frustrating. Well, today I'm going to show you what may be happening in your room, and we're going to talk about how to resolve this issue. I feel like after you watch this video, we're going to have an audio breakthrough for you. My name is Lenny B, and I help content creators make a better connection with their audience. And that means if you're creating any type of content and you want to get a good audio, voiceover type of sound for the content that you're creating, that's the lens that your message has to communicate through so you can connect better. You can connect in a strong way on an emotional connection with your audience. That's how you grow your channel. That's how you expand your brand. And that's how you really create a relationship with the people that are consuming your content. I have a really cool example I want to show you today. I'll refer to him as JC. He wanted to stay anonymous, and he sent me some audio we're going to look at today. JC is using an SM7DB microphone. It's a Shure dynamic microphone, and he's a YouTuber. He creates YouTube content. The microphone is going into a Sony XLR 3KM, and that's a little attachment preamp that can go onto a Sony camera, and that's how he's using it. And he's recording onto the camera, and then he's editing into Final Cut Pro. So what we're going to do is look at a couple different audio submissions from the same person. The one on the left side is the initial submission from JC. And let's talk about that one first. I want to play it for you. Let's zoom in here a little bit. And so this was the audio file that I had him send me first. And I want you to hear what it sounds like. This is a raw audio capture. This is going so straight from his microphone right into the Sony XLR 3KM preamp, and it's been captured onto his camera. And let's listen to what that audio sounds like.
I believe that the biggest challenge that I have with my audio or overall direction has been that consistency, because I tried a bunch of different mics and a bunch of different setups and stuff, and I've kind of hit a point where I just don't have the time to be tinkering with that, so I'm probably going to be sticking with the current microphone.
Now, the first thing I did was establish that we have a gain issue. There is a problem with the preamp, which is the Sony XLR 3KM that he's using in conjunction with the dynamic microphone. There's a lot of things that you have to work out, especially if you're using a couple different preamps, and he is in the situation because there's a mic activator preamp happening in the SM7DB and the preamp happening in the Sony XLR 3KM. So when you've got two different gain stages, there's ratio issues. Regardless, to say that there is a gain staging problem, and that's what's creating the noise that we're hearing. Once we had that resolved, there was a couple different problems that he was having with his mic configuration. In his situation, a dynamic microphone has to be positioned the right way, has to be the right or a optimized distance from the mouth or the audio source. We talked about some of the issues with reflections in his room. There were some configuration things in addition to the gain problem that we resolved. And then he sent me, after we fixed those issues, he sent me another recording. Let's take a listen now to this second sample that we got from JC, and let's hear what that sounds like.
This is a follow-up to the previous recording test that samples we sent over. For this particular recording, I've switched over to using a cloud lifter between the XLR K3M and the microphone.
Now, I don't want you to worry about the details of what type of mic activator, like a cloud lifter versus the microphone type and all that stuff, because we're not there yet. Really, what I want you to understand is there is a foundational level that you need to achieve first in the raw audio capture. There is not only the gain, but the mic position that works in conjunction with how much gain is necessary, the position of the mic, the way the microphone or the way your voice is interacting with the room. All those things matter in the raw audio capture, way before the microphone, before plugins, before any type of processing is done. Once you get that foundation correct and optimized, then everything downstream, the microphone, the plugins, the way that it sounds, and with the EQ and compression and all those things are easier to deal with when you have a solid, consistent, raw audio capture. That's the biggest thing I want you to understand. That's the biggest takeaway. I want to play for you back to back, and I want you to listen to the difference in these two files. Now, the peak recording level from the first submission to the second submission is matched, right? This one peaks at -6, this one peaks at -6. There's no processing. There's nothing different than gain staging that we did and mic position, and I want you to hear the difference. Let's listen to the first one, and then I'll immediately jump to the second. Listen to the tone, listen to the consistency, listen to the presence and what that raw audio capture sounds like.
I believe that the biggest challenge that I have with my audio or overall direction. This is a follow-up to the previous recording test that samples we sent over.
There's a big difference in the raw audio capture before anything else, before any of the processing, right? So just those changes in the raw audio capture now make it much easier for me as a producer to use plugins to sweeten, to use plugins to refine, instead of using AI plugins or noise reduction plugins to fix problems, to compensate for issues that are happening in the raw audio capture. This is the biggest issue that most people have, and it doesn't matter if you're a voiceover artist or you're a YouTuber, to understand, it's an engineering thing, right? To understand how to best configure your microphone and your gain staging and some of those raw audio capture foundational issues. Once you get that tight, once you get those consistent, once you get those optimized, when your raw audio capture is in the right place, everything else sounds better and it's much easier. A lot of times people have difficulty EQing, or they'll use a noise reduction plugin. It can help, but it still doesn't sound quite right. Got to go back to the raw audio capture. So now let's listen to what it sounds like when I did add final processing on this improved audio file. I'm going to play the raw clip again, and then I'm going to engage the processing so you can hear the final refined polish that the processing is allowed to do once that noise is gone from the raw audio capture and once the gain staging is right. So there's a consistency. I've got better raw material to work with, which is going to make all my processing easier.
This is a follow-up to the previous recording test that samples we sent over. This is a follow-up to the previous recording test that samples we sent over.
I'm going to play it again, and we're going to look at the 2 meters. This meter on the left is before the processing. This is showing you the level, the peak and the average level before the processing. This meter is showing you the peak and average levels after the processing. And I want you to see they're very, very similar. And I do that on purpose. So let's go through the two once again, raw, and then I'll engage that processing once more.
This is a follow-up to the previous recording test that samples we sent over. This is a follow-up to the previous recording test that samples we sent over.
You can see after the processing, we're peaking at -7.7 with a 25.4 average volume, -25.4. And before the processing, it's very, very similar. It's less than a dB off, right? We're really, really close. So even after we add the processing on the better raw audio capture file, the processing allows it to sound even more clear, more present. It even sounds a little bit louder. Let's listen to it one more time. First, before the processing, and then I'll engage the gate, parametric EQ, the compression, and the another sweetening EQ that I've added.
This is a follow-up to the previous recording test that samples we sent over. This is a follow-up to the previous recording test that samples we sent over.
So here's the breakthrough, right? Getting the raw audio capture optimized, getting those foundational issues like gain staging and reflection sounds and mic position and distance from the microphone, getting all of those things solid and getting them right in the raw audio capture stage before the microphone, before the processing is monumental. It is the difference between okay and really good, or it's the difference between good and professional or amazing, right? This happens so often, and that is exactly what I can help you with. If you feel like your voice sounds good. It sounds close, but then far away at the same time. There's something really odd, and maybe you can't figure out, I can add compression, I'm adding EQ, I'm adding different plugins, or this is the biggest issue, which it makes me hurt for people because I've been there before. You buy a microphone and you go, it just doesn't sound quite right. And you say, hey, I need to get a better microphone. Then you get a new mic, you're spending even maybe twice as much, and you still have the problem. That's because the issue is in the raw audio capture. I want to help you with that. If you feel like your voice sounds close and far away at the same time, if you feel like you've got noise and you can't figure out where it's coming from, if you're working with several different preamps and staging your gain and it's getting confusing, I can help you diagnose it. I want you to send me a file. According to the instructions, it's really easy. It doesn't have to be a long file. Go to my website. It's lennyb.com, and there's a red button at the top of the page. You click that and follow the easy instructions. Tell me a little bit about the equipment that you're working with, and I can examine it for you, and I'm going to let you know if there are limiting factors happening in your room or with your equipment or the way that it's set up, and we can get to the bottom of that. I could show you exactly what those limiting factors might be so you can improve that raw audio capture, and then we can process your audio to sound competitive, to make you feel confident, and the bottom line here is to make that lens of your audio clear so you can make a strong emotional connection with your audience. And it doesn't matter if you're a YouTuber or if you are creating marketing content for social media, or if you're doing a podcast, or if you're a voiceover competing for that next that job and doing auditions. I want to help you.